So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're going to talk about farming Argon crystals in the year 2022. Argon crystals are a little bit different to a lot of other resources because time-wise it's very inefficient to actually farm them from enemies. It's actually much better for you to focus on the Argon pegmatite. This is the Argon resource node that will randomly spawn throughout the mission, and it will drop 1 or 2 Argon crystals when you destroy it. And finally, Argon crystals decay over time. They can only exist in the void, so once you get them into your inventory, you only have a set amount of hours to use them, so there is no point in farming vast amounts of Argon crystals. Now, as mentioned already, Argon crystals can only exist in the void, so they also only drop in the void, and the mission we are going to focus on is Hepid, which is a level 10 to 15 capture mission. This is an extremely easy mission to do, which means you don't need a ton of gear to finish it, and since it is in the void, it has the added benefit of dropping a glyph relic at the end, so every time you finish one of these missions, you will get a glyph relic too. Now, by far the fastest way of doing this kind of farm is via some variation of kata bombing, with the most popular and fastest one being Zaku with his vast on time. This is what you see me doing in this video. I run around, whenever I see a bunch of icons show up on the loot radar, I press the vast on time, which is Zaku's fourth ability, which sends out a pulse and breaks all the boxes that are on the ground. And if after doing that there are still indicators on the loot radar around me, it means there is something worth picking up there. It could be a star, it could be a mod, it could be a resource, it could even be an Atan sculpture. So here's the build that I personally use on Zaku when I do this kind of farming, and it's very straightforward. I run Energy Siphon just for more energy, I have Primed Vigor for a little bit of defense if I were to do this in a high level mission, Flow so I can bank more energy, Natural Talent so I cast faster, and everything else goes into range and efficiency. And with my setup, the Vast on Time only costs 25 energy and has a range of 66.25 meters. That's a lot. It's basically the reason why Zaku is the best at this. But he's also not the only frame that can do this. Limbo can do this really well too. And he uses basically the same setup. You want a ton of range, a ton of efficiency, natural talent, and a little bit of defense for if you were to do this in a high level mission. It even uses basically the same playstyle. You just run around, and instead of using the Vast on Time, you're using Cataclysm to break all the resource boxes. But what if you don't have any frames that can do this? Well, in that case, you have to turn to AoE weapons. For me, that's usually the Tenet Envoy with Primed Firestorm, but to use this effectively, you either have to be knocked down or stagger immune, or you're gonna get staggered all the time. So you can instead use the Ignis. Now, using your weapons to break the boxes rather than an ability does have its benefits though, because unlike with the Vast on Time or Cataclysm or something like that, you're also gonna kill the enemy standing around those boxes. So you can combine it with something like Desecrate Focused Necros to get more loot from those enemies. This is the build that I use on Necros. It runs Dispel, Equilibrium, and Health Conversion for a ton of tankiness and infinite Desecrate. This kind of gives you a little bit of everything, right? You're still gonna break the boxes with your AoE weapon, so you're gonna get Argon from that, though not as fast as with Zaku or Limbo, and you're also gonna be killing enemies and desecrating them for 2 chances of Argon drop from them. But it is unfortunately a lot slower, so it's definitely inferior to the Zaku or Limbo farming style. It also fits a lot better into a farming group, especially if you don't want to do capture and you want to do some endless missions like survival. Then it's definitely better to run this Necro setup rather than a Zaku or a Limbo setup. And finally, you can always use a Smita Kavat, which can bless you with good fortune. So if you're under the effect of the Smita buff and you break one of those Argon containers, you're gonna get far more Argon, and you can of course get a resource booster, though I wouldn't necessarily recommend it when farming Argon crystals unless you really need a lot of them right now. Because as I've mentioned earlier, Argon decays over time, so it doesn't matter if you farm 50 Argon, if you don't use it within a certain time window, they're all gonna decay. And finally, one kind of a cool thing about this particular farming method, you know, using loot radar to scan for resource nodes and then breaking them and all that, is that if you get a little bit lucky, you might actually run into one of the rare Orokin storage containers. These are very rare, you know, that's why they're called rare, but they can have some really cool stuff in them, like boosters, landing craft parts, or even fully built forma. But anyway, that's it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching. As always guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you have any other good tips for farming Argon, please leave them in the comment section down below for other people, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.